Hi, everyone. Welcome to another Sunday talk within the Nine-Sided Circle. I am your host, Noor Kyle.
And I am her faithful sidekick, Mushtaq Ali.
Yes, and thank you for joining us for another lovely event together. And whether you're joining us here live, which we love, or watching on the replay, which we very much appreciate, we are so happy to have you with us this time around. So, do you want to do the YouTube spiel or the appeal first?
Um, let's do the YouTube spiel first.
Okay. So, as you know from your other favorite YouTubers, one of the ways that you can support us is by, of course, commenting on this video. If you're liking the content that we're discussing this evening, you can ask your questions, you can contribute to the conversation, you can respond to other people's comments and questions, of course. And we do moderate all that so that we can keep this a productive, friendly environment. And you can subscribe to our channel because we do this every week. In fact, next week, God willing, we'll be having a Two Talk Sunday, which we do every third Sunday of each month at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time and 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. Both of those times on our third Sunday of the month on Zoom. So if you want to join us live, you can join our email list, you can join our Facebook group, and you'll get links to our Zoom group, and you can pop in and participate in the conversation. So, of course, you can share our work if you feel moved to do that, which we certainly love when people do. And have I left anything out, Mushtaq?
Um, no, I think that's it.
On that front,
Like our
yes.
video, leave a comment, share it to people you like,
Subscribe
and
to the channel.
subscribe to the channel.
So, with that said, we also have a request to put out to you all since we are doing our fund drive right now, where we work uh to create a sense of stability with our channel and with our work by asking people to pitch in. Doesn't matter how much, how little, anything helps as long as it's not anything that you depend on for yourself and that you share readily.
Yeah, it's called disposable income.
Yes. Yep.
And we're pretty clear on that. We do not want you to give up eating meals to support us. We are not that desperate.
Nope.
No. But if you have disposable income, if you'd like to skip, well, everybody should be skipping that coffee company that I hate, Starbucks.
Starbucks.
Yeah, skip Starbucks. Yeah.
Yes, send us your Starbucks money. Um, so
And the next time you buy the house, I'll make you a good cup of coffee.
one that doesn't suck. So, yeah, in return for your donations, and thank you to those who have donated to our fund drive thus far, and
And
those of
we're
you
keeping
who
careful records of that.
make regular donations, which, you know, we really deeply appreciate. We are doing a raffle this time around. So everyone who wants to be part of the raffle, just send us an email so that we know you have donated and we will double check on our PayPal and our Stripe to cross check. And once we confirm that you've made a donation, we will put you in our raffle bucket. And
And
that
we'll put you in our
money,
raffle bucket every time you make a donation. So if you want to give us $100 and give it to us $1 at a time, you'll have 100 entries.
I don't recommend it, but yeah, you could do
No.
that.
And as it happens to know what really happens is the companies that handle this take a pretty good chunk. So if you donate $1, we get 66 cents of that.
Yeah. So
We
what do
hate
people get for the raffle, Mushtaq?
They get not one, not two, but three sessions with one or the other of us, which is a $300 value. Uh, and what would you give for $300? You could give us $10 and get a chance to talk to us for 3 hours.
There you go.
I mean,
Probably not in a row. You and
not
we
in
would
a row,
probably get
but
tired. But
yeah,
so
that's
we have
exciting.
that going for us. Where can you donate? Those links are in our description. They also, if you want them, you can send us an email. If you I feel like you should find them in our description though. That's the
Yeah,
easiest way.
they're in our description
Yep.
down below, down there.
Yes. And you if you decide you'd might like to do regular donations each month, you can do that through our coffee. Our coffee page offers you that option.
And can they also do that through Stripe?
I don't believe automatically. I'm not
Okay.
sure about that though.
I don't know either.
Well, Coffee allows you to do donations through both Stripe and PayPal. They just manage it for you.
Yeah.
So, enough of our blathering. Let's get to our topic this evening.
What is our topic
Excuse
this
me.
evening?
So this is sort of I thought about this and it's almost I feel like it dovetails nicely with what we talked about last week, which was our discussion on the individuality of being. Yes. Thank you, Ian. Ian also says that the links are in uh, the email that we send out with the Zoom links for these messages, and they are also on the Facebook post where we offer the link to the Zoom as well.
Yeah, and yeah, you'll find them everywhere because we never miss an opportunity to beg for alms. Alms for the poor.
So, yes, we discussed the individuality of being last week. And feel free to revisit that conversation or to watch it again. I think that we all found it quite enjoyable. This time around, we are going to be talking about, well, our title this week is Remembering the Divine, Remembering God, Remembering Us.
That's right.
Remembering God, remembering you. And many of us know if we have done any studying in or practicing of Sufism formally, then we may be familiar with this idea of zikr. So the word zikr is usually translated as remembrance. And this idea of remembrance is, we can think of it as a call to intimacy. It can be thought of as a meditation on intimacy in the sense of deep connection. We talk a lot about subject to subject connection in this group. And so zikr is a way of fostering that subject to subject connection. Typically, it goes from us as an individual to the divine in that kind of directional connection. But we're going to be talking about something slightly different this evening, aren't we, Mushtaq?
Yes.
Which will put an interesting and hopefully meaningful spin on things.
Now, one of the things that we hold to be not just true, but self-evident is that the universe as we experience it is a dependent universe. It depends on the will of the divine reality to exist. If it didn't, there would be two. There would be a partner to God. There would be God and the universe that existed um, entirely separate from God. And we think that's bullshit. I mean, bullshit is a specific theological term in this case. So, other than God, is dependent upon God for its existence. And what that looks like is that at every moment, the divine reality, the infinite knowledge, the however you want to frame the deity or that is remembering the universe. The entire universe, all of existence is in the remembrance of God. And if God were to stop remembering the universe, you know what would happen? Poof, no more universe, no more you, no more me. We are all utterly dependent on the remembrance of God for our existence. And if you go back to last week's talk, we talk about this idea of the field, and the universal half of that is God remembering everything into existence. And we explain that to ourselves as a form of dhikr. And this is why humans get to do dhikr back to God. We're remembering God, remembering us. And there is a specific practice in Sufism where you make that switch in your mind, realizing that you are the remembered. You are that which is existent because the divine unity, the one, remembers you into existence. And in every instant, every microsecond of the universe is repeating that remembrance of you. And if if that ever stopped, yeah, we cease to exist because we have no independent existence outside of the field. Does that make sense? Who wants to argue theology?
Or has questions.
Okay, I'll be the bad guy.
You don't have to be the bad guy, but go for it.
Ian, you're wrong. Damn you. Get that out of the way.
Um, well, I was just going to quibble about when you said it was self-evident. To me, um, the, the idea that you talked about with everything existing in God and all that, I don't think it's necessarily false at all.
Yeah. And I can
But
allow that it's not self-evident to you, but it is self-evident to me. And I have to speak from my own perspective.
which is fair enough, but you might have qualified.
Yeah, it's more fun not to.
Anyway, I will just finish my thought, which is that
Please.
to me it is a model, and perhaps it's because I was trained as a physicist. Um, I also consider a model in which it's not true. Um, and when it comes to spiritual experience, I don't necessarily, when it comes to spiritual experience, I think it's also possible to have a model in which these are capabilities that are somehow built into humans in the to the extent that we can have realizations and experiences that are beyond that with work are beyond what you can just achieve by being a mechanical human being. Um, and I tend to not like to make presumptions about what those experiences are of.
Yes. And you're absolutely correct in that this is a model. And we can make up perhaps an infinite number of models describing the experience more or less, or at least parts of it. And sometimes, in order to shake a person out of the model that they habitually experience, you have to rattle the cage a little bit.
Sure. Wouldn't dispute that at all.
Yeah. And since I can't slip you a couple of hits of acid, I have to do it linguistically.
Anyway, be that as it may, that's really all I had to say about it.
Yeah. And I'm totally happy to let you have that. And my model's the best one.
Uh,
Ah,
of course, that's just the mic back up.
all right. So working within this framework, we were just discussing how there seems to be this flux between experiencing us connecting to the divine connecting to us, and experiencing that sense of this being a field with polarities, right? So, any other questions before we move on?
Yeah. And to the how-to part.
Okay. Oh, wait, Kyle, did you have a thought?
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of a saying that I've heard somewhere. I think I heard it from Ram Dass first, but that God, Guru, and self are all one. And I know you guys throw out Guru, but God and I are one. Like, is
Yeah.
that kind of like a valid tangent on this?
It is a valid tangent, and the only reason we throw out guru is because there are so many gurus out there who don't actually understand this. And when you go around believing that you're God and the other guy isn't, you get in trouble.
Okay. All right, Mushtaq,
All
where were
right,
we
Noor,
headed?
what do we got going for us now?
All right, so were you preparing to take a dive into the practical side of this?
Yeah, pretty much. That I mean that the whole point of this talk is to give people a practice whereby they can experience this sense of being remembered.
Yes. Have we discussed why someone might do this?
No, why should somebody do this other than it's fun?
Yeah. Well, I think there is this sense in which, why why connect with the divine? What's the big deal? What do I mean, I hate to put it like this, but it is in a way a question of how do we benefit from that? What do we get out of it? What are we achieving through that? And I think it's worthwhile attempting to answer that question in a way that opens a doorway to a way of valuing something like zikr, like remembrance. And we've talked about creating a sense of mutual connection. It's not just a sense of I and thou, but us together, perhaps as one, perhaps as walking the stepstones that take us towards that, and also getting to experience our own uniqueness, as we discussed last week, all the same. So there's that sense of mutual connection and also a sense of gratitude that we can cultivate through a practice like this, experiencing the magic that may bubble up, that feeling of connecting to magic that bubbles up within us when we realize that It is because we are valued, because we are thought highly of, that we are considered precious, that we are remembered, and that we get held in beingness, as it were. We get to exist because we are cared for, because we matter, and we are seen. We know how important that is for many of us to feel seen. And we've also discussed explicitly that it's about understanding, embodying our understanding that we are not separate from the divine, that we are participating in this field phenomenon that is this flux between the divine and the individual, the divine reality and the individual. So that's where we're headed with this practice, being able to touch in on all of those things.
Yeah. And these are all models, ways of talking about something that's real. The value of a model is in its usefulness. So, 100 and some odd years ago, physics had two models about how light worked and how heat worked. And light worked through what they called luminiferous ether, which was a fluid that permeates all of existence, and light travels by means of this fluid. And they had whole models that explained certain things by this. As it turns out, according to Michelson and Morley, a couple of English dudes, there is no luminiferous ether, and light does not need it to travel. And so, even though there was a model for this to happen, the model was no longer useful. Though it's interesting that mystical groups still cling to the ether model. It's kind of fun. And we had the same thing with phlogiston. Phlogiston was the theoretical fluid through which things burned, basically. I don't have time to go into all of the mechanics of it. But as it turns out, while it was a useful model for 18th and 19th century physics, it became less useful when we discovered that it didn't actually exist. The world is full of examples like this. The Ptolemaic solar system, the Ptolemaic universe was very useful for certain things. The Sumerian universe was very useful for certain things. They had ways to calculate all sorts of cool stuff. And the model was less accurate than ones we have now. They could still build huge ziggurats, pyramids, and figure out how to make the Tigris and the Euphrates irrigate vast tracts of land. But so this model will probably turn out to be as ephemeral as ether, but is useful. And it's useful for a specific thing. In the message that we sent out to everybody, I always like to include a quote. And the quote I included this time is from the Quran, from the Surah of the Cow, verse 152. And it says, "Remember me, I will remember you, and thank me, and never be ungrateful." Lousy translation, but it's what I could find at the time. So why would it say that? Osama, feel free to chime in on this one because I know you know this one.
Yeah, I love how uh, Noor actually described it in forming this intimacy, right? Because even in the Arabic language, remember me, I will remember you. اذكروني أذكركم. It's such a um, this constant connection that is formed in an intimate way. So intimacy, I really love that you brought that into the conversation because even experientially, it does feel like an intimate connection that's being formed.
Yeah, and that's dead on.
Yeah.
Thanks, Osama. I'm glad that resonated and, I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
And that last part, on experiencing gratitude, that is the glue that makes this connection possible. So usually when we do zikr, we work with one or more of the divine names or a particular phrase. Common one, of course, is La ilaha illallah, no God but God. Or we'll pick a couple of the divine names, the Asma al-Hunsa, the 99 names of God, the most beautiful names, which contain the qualities. And we will uh, repeat those, focus on them, look at what they mean. To do this particular remembrance is a little bit different because what you want to do is listen. Listen for the divine names that are being recited to you. So if I'm doing this, I clear my consciousness, I get present, and I pay attention to the flow of the divine to me. And what I would hear if I had ears good enough would be all of the attributes, because all human beings mirror all of the attributes. But there will be specific ones that will be louder than the others. And the only way I can describe it is to talk about music, about harmonics and that sort of thing. There will be a tonic note, and that will be the loudest note. And that tonic note will produce all of the harmonics possible within that tonic. So let's say for you, the divine reality has chosen as your tonic note Al-Rahman, the merciful. Imagine God saying to you over and over again, Ar-Rahman, Ar-Rahman. And rather than you saying it back, you feel it. You hear it, you feel it. You feel it coming into you from the divine. And what goes back is your gratitude for that. It is a simple process, though not necessarily easy. And newsflash, you don't need to know Arabic to perceive this, because the uh, the qualities are universal. They are not limited to language. We use Arabic because it's like you can do physics with word problems, but it's a lot easier just to use numbers. So Arabic is like doing physics with numbers, and English is a little bit like doing physics with word problems. Does that make sense? You understand what I'm saying there?
Some people seem to, yeah.
Yeah, if Isaac Newton had 10 apples and he dropped three of them on your head, how many apples would he have? For those of you who have thankfully forgotten word problems from your elementary school.
It says, how many did he drop on other heads? How many did he eat?
There you go. You know, I discovered something interesting. Generative AI sucks at word problems. Totally sucks at word problems, even simple ones.
Too complicated, too many moving parts.
It requires something that the AI doesn't quite have, I think.
Mm.
So, if the divine reality creator and sustainer of the entire universe chooses attributes for you, how can you know what they are? And the answer is you know by listening. You have to make yourself very, very quiet so that you can hear the divine attributes. This is metaphor, right? You're not going to act, it's not going to vibrate your eardrums, I don't think. But it's how you talk about it, if you're me anyway, because I tend to think in terms of sound a lot. And can you listen to it being given to you? And can you experience gratitude for that quality that is being given to you? And that's almost a play because one of the divine attributes is al-shakur, which is the grateful, basically. Somebody put their hand up. Osama,
Yeah,
speak to
Osama.
us.
Yeah, this whole thing is so subtle. Um, I remember, I think maybe back in July, sometimes I go through these experiences where I get frustrated with the divine. And after I meditate, after I do dhikr, I journal, I write. It's usually in this space that's kind of like I'm in and out. And back then I wrote something like, why are you making me work for this? Like, what's the point? Why are you making me do all this work? And after journaling at some point, this thing that came out was like, is it so that I can call you by my name? This connection between calling the divine by my name. And it reminded me of just being a kid in Jordan. And over there, the culture, which I don't know if it's similar over here, but my mother would call me mama. The way she would call me, she doesn't call me by my name. She called me by her title. Mama, come. Or my dad, Baba, come. And it's so, I don't know why that came to mind, this um kind of like the lines get blurred
Yeah.
between who's calling who. And it seems like almost this super intimate in between barzakh, like the space that right there in the middle of it all. Um, and it is intimate because in that listening, in that being receptive and being open, there is an intimacy aspect in it to say, okay, um, even when I'm doing the calling, even when I'm saying Allah, Allah, and hearing the beingness of this thing that's even in that utter, there's be. Okay, here I am, even to utter that. Like it's so it's so subtle. Um, and I love that we're talking about it because it really does beautifully connect with this uniqueness, individuality as well in that intimacy. It's uniquely uh, colored for each person. Just wanted to share that.
Yeah. That is, of course, perfect.
And that's so interesting too. You shared that cultural anecdote where yeah, that is a bit of a cultural difference. I have not personally experienced that phenomenon. And I think, in my cultural context, it would be like, isn't that confusing? But it's not if that's, the understanding is already built in to the exchange. Like there is that sense of ambiguity in terms of who is being referenced, but there's an understanding there that it is a calling out using, your mom calling out, but she's saying her title, mama.
Yeah, it can be confusing, and I mean, I think in a way it's also pointing to the fact that that title is born with the arriving of the child.
Mhm.
So it's like there's something there which I don't know what it is really, but it is fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, the title emerges through that connection, right? So without you, the title doesn't emerge. It doesn't come into being. It has no relevance. So it is relevant through you.
Now, does that what is the role there when it comes to the divine between the lover and the beloved, as far as these titles and as far as that being blurred in this remembrance and being remembered back?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when we think about the lover and the beloved, that's a good example. Who is the lover? Who is the beloved? Each is both. And they exist through each other. You know,
Yeah. And when
Jeremiah.
the Sufis say it, they often say God is love, lover, and beloved. So it
Hmm.
has all three aspects.
There you go. Yeah.
So Jeremiah, lay it on us.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've heard particularly for little girls, parents refer to their daughters as mama. That's something I've heard before. And I wonder if it has something to do with it's almost like a calling for them to eventually grow up and to take that role. Um, I don't know, maybe something like a child of God moving into that direction of growing up and no longer being a child. Maybe there's like some sort of correlation there.
Could be. And also in Arab cultures, you would, like, for instance, if I were being polite in an Arab culture and met your mother, I might refer to her as Jeremiah, the mother of
Mm,
Jeremiah. Your
yeah.
father would be Abu Jeremiah.
Mhm.
Uh, and all of that, I'm sure, relates to this in interesting ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I've most only ever seen it for daughters. I almost never see like parents saying dad or dada or anything like that for little boys. I almost always see it for daughters for some reason. So
Interesting.
Thanks, Jeremiah. Any other thoughts? RM says, I call my daughter Mama out of love and respect, and also to make her feel safe that Mama is here. Yeah, there's
There
another
you
way
have
of
it. Yeah.
talking about this. Yeah.
Yeah. Can I say
Yeah,
Yes.
something?
sure.
Yeah. My wife and I recently had a daughter as well, so we also sometimes call her Mama or Little Mama, but for me, it almost means like the Divine Mother, like coming through in the next generation, the next cycle, and
Yeah. Why
I think
not?
exactly. Why not?
And congratulations.
Thank you.
So, just for fun, let's all try this for a second. Take a moment, center yourself in your breath. Let yourself be present in the room where you're sitting now, no matter how scary it looks. Todd. And listen, not with the ears on the sides of your head, but with the ear inside your heart. You've heard of the third eye. You also have the third ear. The third ear is in your heart. And it will take a minute or two or three, and you might begin to hear the remembrance that the divine uses to keep you in existence. And you might hear a specific name, or feel a specific name, or know a specific name. And when you can hear that name, allow yourself a little bit of gratitude for being gifted with that name, that attribute. So let there be a thank you for that. And you can know that that remembrance is the basis for your existence. And that God works really hard to remember you in every instant, never stops. And so take a breath and just bring yourself back. Don't expect to succeed at this all at once, though you may have done it perfectly the first time. It has happened. Not to anybody I've ever met, but it has happened. So how was that? Simple little thing. Simple, simple, simple. Not easy, but simple. And this is not a practice for everybody. No practice that we give is for everybody. Some of you might find it of value. Some of you might go, yeah, I have no interest in that. And both of those responses are okay.
Yeah, I didn't experience anything. I mean, it felt good to be in my breath, but I felt very much like like I feel about being able to visualize and the aphantasia that I posted about in the FB group.
Yeah, I saw that. I want to see the fMRIs on that. That would be interesting to me.
Yeah, there's an amazing amount of material on YouTube from
Yeah,
people about it.
you got to take anything on YouTube with a small Siberian salt mine. But if there are studies, you know, valid studies, there will be things like, oh, we put this person under an fMRI and asked them about the color of their house, and there was no activity in the occipital lobe.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether the one I posted to, I think it was today, about uh studies of people doing meditation and neuroscientists. And I think I saw a title in one of the things that may have referred to something like that, although I was so short of time today.
Yeah,
And
no
as you,
worries. I live just down the street from Stanford University. If this has been studied anywhere, it will have been studied there. So I can look around and see what there are in the libraries.
Thanks, Ian. We'll check it out.
yeah, if I come across one of those,
Yeah.
I'll share it.
So
Uh,
Todd,
although one of the things that was interesting in one of the videos I watched today was they said that even though it was first described, I think back in the late 19th century, it only really became recognized as a specific condition in 2010, which is very short in terms of scientific timescales.
hmm,
Yeah. So,
noted. Yeah.
uh, got a couple of comments here. One from Todd.
So Todd described the experience as terrifying and so probably necessary.
Yeah. And RM says,
Uh,
Al Wadud was the loudest for me. I felt the gratitude and the gratitude was really needed for acceptance.
Allah dude is like the loving,
Yes.
kind of the intimately loving, actually.
So that's basically the data part of the talk. And hot damn, I made it all the way through. For those of you who didn't catch, I got my COVID and flu shots at the same time yesterday. I don't recommend that. I like a week apart, but it came late this year. And so I can't move my left arm worth a damn. And I'm feeling a little slow.
Mm, yeah.
Sympathies. I've got friends who had varying degrees of negative side effects from the things, but I've been lucky. The most I've had is feeling a little bit spaced out when I go to the grocery store after getting the
Yeah,
shots,
usually
and
that's what I get.
I get them both at the same time. So
Yeah.
I haven't had them this year yet, though.
is time for those who are interested. They're
Yeah,
both
but
out
we
now.
can't say too much about it because even mentioning them
Oh
can
my
get the
gosh,
video
yes.
pulled, believe it or not.
We walk a fine line when
Yeah.
it comes to the algorithm and the AI censorship in that, we are not antagonistic, but for some reason YouTube gives us a hard time sometimes. All right.
But
Uh
Osama had something to say.
yes.
Switching
Yeah.
topic real quick so that the algorithm doesn't notice.
Well, first of all, thank you for leading us through this quick exercise. It's definitely powerful.
Yeah, and people
Um,
can give more time to it when they're on their own too. So
yeah, yeah. It's being, even though it's a virtual group, but somehow being in connected in some way can almost feel that as well. Um, I have a question. So within the experience of kind of sitting with certain attributes and names that come up, does is there a is the name or the attribute or that feeling ever changing in that moment, or does it get to a place where it actually settles to a one specific attribute or one specific name or one particular feeling and whatnot? And is that what we're talking about as far as individuation and uniqueness?
It's a good question for which I do not have a perfect answer. My suspicion is that it will tend to, if not settle, at least revolve around certain qualities that are more you than not you. And but at the same time, because you are the mirror of the infinite, you have the possibility of all qualities. And maybe in your life, you will only need a particular quality, a particular name once,
Yeah,
but
makes sense.
the possibility of it is there. This is my theory anyway.
Makes sense. Yeah, kind of like a that there is the possibility of it having some kind of a group of names. It's kind of like a solar system. Okay, this is the main one, and then you have this other one's kind of like
Mhm.
revolving around it.
Yeah,
And
kind of like that. And
yeah,
then for extraordinary circumstances, you might need one particular name and you might need it just that once.
yeah,
so kind
yeah,
of maybe out of left field, like,
yeah.
wow,
Some
what's that one?
meteor shower or whatever it is, some
Yeah.
foreign object just come out of place.
Whitney, yes, talk to us.
Being that I am not familiar at all with Arabic, I had no idea where my silence would take me, but um the name Ruah came to me, which is Hebrew.
Yeah, it all pretty close to Arabic.
Um
Yeah.
so that
Hebrew would
was
be like Rosh, Ruch.
yeah, I didn't know what to expect, but that's kind of what appeared. So I'm gonna sit with that a bit more because I don't have this flood of names swarming. There's not a lot. There's not a lot there as far as English goes. And I've had brief encounters with that name too, so I don't know where exactly, but I am grateful. Um, this conversation is reminding me of a conversation that was had today about the Trinity and the Trinity being this like constant pouring out of love between the three, between the above and the below, but just this like ever pouring love that is imbued and passed forth and just kind of like passed around between the 3 points of the Holy Trinity. So I thought about that. And then there was also this line that this woman said. She was like, if we could just see us as God sees us. Um, and then the line, the only thing that separates us from God is the thought that we are separate from God. So I missed the beginning of this conversation, but I love that remembering God as God remembers us. And I usually have a morning practice that I do early in the morning that I have been staying in bed for. And this a couple of days ago, I had to be up before the sun and I was out under the stars and it was absolutely gorgeous. And I was like, I've missed the morning and the morning has missed me. Like we've mutually missed each other. And it was just this perfect, cool morning under the stars, just big and bright, and having that kind of like that sense that there was this mutual feeling of I missed you and you missed me, and here we are together. So also another special little moment, unexpected, but very lovely.
Yeah, I think that resonates for a lot of people in the group. Thank you for sharing that, Whitney. I think that's a really good lived experience of tuning into that sense of connection, of intimacy, the night and you. I mean, we see that in so many poetries, love poems, excuse me, of the the personified night and the relationship of the lover and the beloved, the poet in the nighttime. And so there's such a beautiful tradition of that. And just to have that spontaneously come up for you is such a lovely illustration of that. Yeah. I hope you and the night get to appreciate each other more often. Khalil says, this has been an outstanding meeting. I learned so much. Looking forward to next Sunday's doubleheader. Thank you, Khalil. Much appreciated.
And he's already dropped off, had to
Yeah.
run.
Yep.
All right. That's pretty much all I got to say. Anything from you, Noor?
I think it may not always come up as words.
Yeah.
And that's something to keep in mind. It may come up as, I mean, Mushtaq was saying he kind of tends to frame things in hearing terms, listening terms, sound terms. I tend to do things in feeling terms. So for me, it might not be a word. It might be more of a bubbling up sensation. What is that bubbling up sensation trying to communicate to me? That's what I spend that silence feeling out, as it were. And then the meaning emerges from that feeling. So you get to practice this in a way that allows you to experience that sense of communication between you and the great other that we are seeking to have this exchange with, this sense of remembrance with, this mutual intimacy.
Yeah, I will say that a while back, probably several months, perhaps 3, maybe just 2, I did have an experience that I think I could perhaps view as something similar to this. But obviously I didn't have this idea available at the time, and I haven't re-experienced that yet. Well, I expect I will at some point. But it's certainly having this idea, I think, would have been very helpful while I was going through that. It was like there was something inside me that was, how to describe it, that was wanting me to accept being together with it.
Hmm.
And I was just trying as best I could to be accepting of that. And it was really quite wonderful. Um, and I'd never experienced it at that level before. And like I said, not since. But it was very beautiful.
Yeah, that sounds like a taste of this. Whether that was a big taste or a little taste, that's within you to determine, and it doesn't really matter. But the fact is that you were able to allow in that desire for connection. I think that says a lot. Thanks, Ian. Hmm. Any other last thoughts? I think I'm going to encourage us to part a little bit earlier than we otherwise might because I want Mushtaq to be able to get some rest and recover and get rid of these yucky, incidental side effects that come with this kind of thing.
Yeah, the side effect of not dying from COVID is a good one, though.
Hmm. Oh my gosh, be careful.
Yeah. YouTube, you did not hear me say that.
Those words together make them freak out for some
Yes.
reason. All right. Ah, any last thoughts? Todd, I just want to say I love your background. If you would just like make a little noise so that people can see your cool spooky background. I would love that if you don't mind.
Hi, this is the background. I think it's from The Lurker at the Threshold, the cover of The Lurker at the Threshold at Other Stories. It was part of the digital download pack for the
Oh,
Lovecraft
cool.
Film Festival this year.
How rad is that?
It's
Thank you
the
for sharing
Lurking
it with
Fear
us.
collection, originally. Lurking Fear collection from Del Rey.
Mm.
Wow.
Hmm.
Cool,
But
cool.
that's like 30 years ago. So
Yeah. I remember seeing that cover 30 years ago and going, damn, I like that.
Oh, James. So thank you, Todd. Thank you. Do you have anything you'd like to add, Todd, while we have you?
I'm unusually without words in the last couple of weeks.
Holy
Mm,
crap. Are you
wow.
feeling okay?
Uh, yes, very much so.
Okay, good. In that case, we don't mind.
Alhamdulillah.
All right. I have just switched over to Brady Bunch mode.
Yeah, so James just popped on camera. James, do you have any thoughts you might like to share?
I'm gonna have to rewatch this and digest it because I've sort of been zoning in and out the entire thing as I thought I might be. Um,
Hey, that's what recordings
yeah.
are for, man.
I'm a big zero today, I'm afraid.
All good. Glad to have you with us too.
All right.
All right, everyone.
Everybody wave goodbye to each other.
Yeah, wave to each other, everyone watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us and participating in this
We'll
practice,
see
and
you twice next week.
we'll see you twice next week. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.